What's one thing the dating apps, the Buffalo Wild Wings Hot Wings Challenge, and your dad all have in common? They all put social pressure on men everywhere. All right, we're going with it. Here we go. Now, social pressure isn't in itself a bad thing, right? It's the reason you return lost wallets, and it's the reason you look out for kids who seem to be lost or can't find a parent. Right? Those are social pressures, and they're healthy. They're good. That said, certain social pressures and social expectations, especially around men, can be dangerous and harmful. So today we're going to talk about what are the common social pressures around men, how can they be harmful, and what can be done about it if they are harmful. Now, I'm a dude, right? I've lived this my whole life, but one person's experience is hardly scientific, so went and found some research as well. So we're going to be covering both. The first research we found was actually our own. We made some research. Let's go. We asked 7 dudes about their experience with social expectations being a guy and how they cope with them and how they can be harmful and how they can be helpful. Great. So first of all, this study is not a study at all. It's wildly unscientific. It's 7 people that are my friends, so they're going to think like me and like the same things as me and all that stuff. But I thought it was interesting because some themes popped up. First, men are reliable. Second, men are successful. And third, men are strong. Those aren't bad things at all. I want to be reliable. I want to be successful. I want to be strong. That's not harmful in any way. The issue comes when you start tying your self-worth to those values or to those expectations, right? It's not just men are reliable. It's men are reliable, and if you can't get a job done or if you can't power through something, then you're useless. Right? It's not just men are successful, it's men are successful, and if you don't succeed, then you're a loser. And it's not just men are strong, it's men are strong, but if you need help, then you're weak. Right? And that's where we start to see some harm, and that's where, according to my friends, we start to see some danger come into these social expectations. According to the guys, men seem to have an all or nothing relationship when it comes to these expectations. Either you are strong or you're not. Either you are reliable or you're not. And there kind of is no in between, so there's really no room for failure or room to seek help. The question becomes, like, men are people who step up, right? But what happens when we stumble? Now, like I mentioned, this study, if you could even call it that, was wildly unscientific. So we went out and found some research. The research we have today is a literature review. Essentially what that means, it's a bunch of different studies about a similar topic that kind of come together, connect the studies, and draw conclusions. So that's what we're doing here with a bunch of studies about male social expectations. Remember, in this video, we're talking about what are the common social norms, how can they be harmful, and what can be done about them if they are harmful. So those are our goals. Let's start with the common social norms. The study names a number of common social expectations for men. Among them are self-reliance, toughness, anti-femininity, and emotional control. It also says that when men don't measure up to those standards or those expectations, we tend to feel guilt or failure. Other common social expectations noted in the study are things like stoicism, action over words, denial of pain or weakness, and also physical toughness. They also mention in sporting environments, men tend to be conditioned to feel more social expectations, things like competition, controlled aggression, playing through pain, and mental toughness. In high unemployment areas, men can tend to feel like they need to be a sole breadwinner or a protector. Now, like I said before, I want to start by admitting that these are not innately bad. Actions before words, competition or competitiveness, mental and physical toughness, all of these things I value. Like I want to be those things. But I'd also say that it's impossible to be all of those things 100% of the time. The expectations themselves aren't harmful. What's harmful is feeling like shit when something inevitably goes wrong, which of course it will. As far as how these social expectations are harmful for men, the study notes things like elevated suicide rates, a lack of ability or willingness to seek help mentally or physically, substance abuse, and risk-taking behavior as ways that men seem to cope with not measuring up to these social expectations. So what can we do about it? Well, there's kind of 2 parts in the what can we do. First is individually and second is societal. Let's start with the individual. What can you specifically do if you're feeling bogged down by social expectations? The most interesting part of the study, in my opinion, was this case study called Men's Sheds. Men's Sheds was a program where guys just came together and did carpentry. The study notes that in men's sheds, dudes were supporting each other indirectly. They say shoulder to shoulder rather than face to face, which makes sense to me. Some of my best friends didn't come from having emotional conversations. They came from just doing dude stuff together. It turns out that building male camaraderie and having guy friends is a great way to combat the negative emotions or the negative consequences of social expectations. It's also a great way to have people around you that you know support you and you can go to if you ever need help. So one thing that you can do for yourself is just do dude stuff with dudes. Fire up the grill, go fishing, build something, I don't know, drink a beer. Dude stuff with dudes has positive mental health implications. The study also noted that people with higher education tend to be more likely to seek help if they need it. So another thing you can do is just keep learning. I'm not sure if that's a direct correlation. Higher education also comes with, better financial options and things like that. So I don't know if that's a direct cause, but if you continue learning and growing yourself, I don't think that's necessarily going to hurt you in any way. Interestingly enough, another thing that helped was transitioning from a sole breadwinner to a dual income household. But there's caveats there. More money, especially if you're in a low income situation, is really not going to hurt your mental health. So again, not sure if that's a causation, but if that's a conversation that you're willing to have, maybe think about it. Lastly, there's a big section in the literature about dads, about fathers. And there's a lot there, and I encourage anyone that is a father to read the portion. But it really boils down to teach your kids to fail without feeling like a failure. The study talks a lot about dads and taking time off to spend time with your sons and things like that. That's all really important. And personally, my dad used to pick me up every time it snowed. My dad used to pick me up from school early, and we'd go sledding before anyone else got to the hill. So we had the whole thing to myself. That was years ago, and I remember it all the time. So have those moments with your sons, especially with present dads. That helps a lot. The study also notes some societal changes that could really help with this male social expectations and the harmful aspects that come with it. That said, waiting for society to change or fix anything is, I don't think, very helpful, so don't hold your breath. But I think they're interesting, so we'll go through them. Better paternal leave options. We just talked about the significance of fathers on their sons and their ability to cope with these social expectations. Having more resources for dads. Also, specific mental health information for men. I feel there's rarely options specific to men and how men think and feel and act when it comes to mental health. And that's a part of what we're trying to do here at Wise Down. So if this video is at all helpful, consider liking and subscribing. Also, if you want to see more of what we have a monthly newsletter, and essentially just outlines all the content we've made this month. That way you don't have to check up all the time. We'll just send you an email for free, and you can pick and choose what you like and leave what you don't, so you don't have to deal with it. There's also a form where you can fill out if you have specific questions for yourself or your mental health. Submit the form, and we'll actually create something specifically for you totally free. Thank you so much. Be good.